I have to admit that I was scratching my head a little bit over the next part because I don't exactly know how to show you a very good way of you being able to get this running on your own, because there's a lot to it. First of all, I would tell you what I'm not going to deliver here. So I cannot tell you how to get your MIDI device like I have, or devices like these ones up here. How to get these running on your system. So I assume that you have these MIDI keyboards or a MIDI keyboard, not a keyboard, MIDI devices running on your system, on your Ubuntu system, and that you're using Jack for it. So if you're on Ubuntu Studio, this is somehow pre-configured, and I think it's pretty it's relatively easy to get these running. And yeah, I cannot deliver this. This would be beyond these tutorials. Another thing that I'm not going to show you, as I told you in previous parts, how to set up Open Stage Control in a very detailed way. So there is a good documentation on their site, just showing you here, with getting started and tutorial category. So I expect you to just have a look there, and it took me not too much time to get this running. Even in the MIDI category here, you will find good information about the installation and how to get MIDI implemented in Open Stage Control for Linux. Yeah, just some notes and hints on your configuration. Sysex is needed, but as far as I remember, it was not that big of trouble to get this running. What I want to show you here is the basic syntax on how to get Open Stage Control talk and listen to your MIDI devices. So if you would put in something like that, it wouldn't do much because it has to somehow match your system. Good thing in Open Stage Control is that you can, by pressing Control M, you can bring up every MIDI device that is listed on your system. So this would be my list, as I have three MIDI devices connected to my PC. They show up here, and this is exactly what I'm going to do. First, I'm setting up my MIDI devices. Note that this is somehow, well, the drums are not there at the moment, but it doesn't matter. It just doesn't recognize them when I start Open Stage Control, but it's not that big of a problem. Sometimes I run into issues because these ports on my system vary after restart. So keep in mind, Control M, bring up these MIDI devices, gives you a good sign of what is MIDI input on your system and what is MIDI output in the list, and just configure it like this. So, for example, we are concentrating today on NanoKontrol. I call it NControl. So here you give it a name that will be used later on in the module we are creating. And I'm for an import on 3 and output as well, number 3. And just for the sake of completion, I put in the other keyboard, the other devices too. If I'm going to keep saying keyboard, don't hate me. I don't know why. It's just like that, keyboard. Okay. Yeah, 4 devices will be implemented in Open Stage Control after start. But first, I want to show you something else. Yeah, look at that. It's a little software that definitely is discontinued, but I was fiddling around with it over a decade now, so I'm still using it, MidiSnoop. You don't have to use that, but I highly recommend to use any MIDI sniffer or something that gives you some information about your incoming MIDI data streams if you hooked up these. So just to show you, to start this, it would be MidiSnoop. This little window comes up. I have to configure real quickly something. As I told you, Jack, use Jack for your own convenience. Will make you happy, I think. So Jack connection kit. We are just looking at the input port now. Must be control. And as soon as I close this one, and let me check if you see that. Yeah. As soon as I push one of my sliders up and down, or turn one of the knobs, or even press one of the buttons, I will get some very useful, not only useful, but necessary information for later. So just for explaining, as you can see, we are getting the channel that it's sending on the MIDI controller. Then we have the controller, and there was something undefined, breath controller, value 5. So just keep in mind that this is information that you need later on. Okay, I will just keep this open, and we are going to set up something. Let me come back here. We are going to set up something that that Open Stage Control offers. That is creating custom modules. Custom modules, I think, are somehow the heart of Open Stage Control, because this is JavaScript. A JavaScript file that you can load that has pretty much all the configuration that you are after if you want to set up a real nice and working system. So have a look at their site real quick. So we were into MIDI configuration here. MIDI messages, yeah. If you need some basic information, some basic knowledge about MIDI, this is where you can get it. It is somehow the same that I just showed you. There will be a lot of if statements in the script we are going to create, just to sort out what's coming in and what to do with it. So yeah, MIDI messages, and then there we go, custom module. This is a lot. There's a lot of explanation here. We have a look at the examples. This is exactly where I'm going to start. The basic address routing means you're going to filter. You're going to tell OpenStage that it has to filter in messages and out messages. So basically what it is saying is if something is coming in from your system, for example, a MIDI message, do something with it, some if statement, as I told you. There will be if statements to sort out what kind of messages these are, and then return it to the system and do something. The same goes for outs. For an out filter, this means if your user interface that we created in the last part, if you're doing something there, pulling a slider or pushing a knob, pressing a knob, what to do if this happens. So yeah, maybe you get an idea that the messages that we last time that we implemented there do something if and value changes could also be handled completely externally in this module, and this is somehow what we are going to do, but we're not concentrating on the out filters at the moment, because we somehow did this in the editor mode in our user interface. So we are concentrating on the InFilter. Okay, and this is where I'm going to start. I created an JS file, JavaScript file called oscmodule.js, and this is exactly what we are going to load here. And for the sake of laziness, to not always have to start and load the JSON file or project file, we are going to do this up front. So put it here. This is what is going to be loaded on startup, and this is the file that I just created. Give it here. We're going to have debug on, so make it true. We have our MIDI configuration. Don't forget your port. And let's see what's happening. Any errors? Yeah, we have an error, so it's always a good idea to have a look at the output here. It's an error about a MIDI cannot connect drums. Yeah, just as I told you, the drums are not connected at the moment to the system, so they will not work, but it's not a problem. It's just a message. It doesn't harm the system or the program. It's just a message. Okay. Everything else, as you can see, is about the MIDI devices connected to the system, NanoKontrol, NanoPad, NanoKey. We are going to concentrate on the NControl, as I was calling it here, NControl, and we open our module. So I'm going to do this sorry. I'm going to do this with Visual Studio Code, and we are just copying this basic address routing. This is what we want, so just copy it in here. And as I told you, I'm immediately going to get rid of this. I will leave it here for maybe later on, just to have it here, but we're not going to use anything of this at the moment. So I like some notes. Yeah, from here it's about the InFilter, and we're concentrating on that. So this is very basic. I'm gonna get rid of this, and yeah, for the sake of being faster here, I'm going to copy and paste a lot. So yeah, this shall not be a coding tutorial. I'm not good enough for that, so I have a working thing, so I'm gonna use that. Okay, first of all, I'm going to declare a variable here called Vimix address. Maybe you can already imagine what this means. This will be clear later on. So another thing that I'm going to use here is a function that I call scale. Others call it mapping. Basically what it does is looking at a number that it gets and calculate a new range for it. So with an in minimum and maximum, an old one, and an out, so the new one where it should be. Some calculation. Don't mind, will be clear later. Okay, so just quick explanation. When something, this means when something is coming into Open Stage Control, then first of all gather all information that you can get and then do something with it. Okay, sounds pretty easy. As I told you, we're going to have a lot of if statement. So first of all, if something is coming in, very basic. So then first of all, please have a look at what it is. So if it is by the host, if it is a MIDI signal, then do something. So we're going to have a look at the NanoKontrol. Next if is if the port. So you remember the port, you could call them 3 input output at list number 3. I gave it a name NanoKontrol. So if the host is MIDI and the port of the incoming message is NanoKontrol and NKTRL, then do something else. Don't forget to set your parentheses. So, and now I'm going to just copy in some useful information. So this is basically the information that I gathered from my MIDI controller over MidiSnoop, right? So maybe just to have a look. So channel is 3, as I told you. We could see it here. Everything I'm going to push, I hope you can see it moving. When I'm pushing around knobs and whatnot, it will always stay at channel 3. So this means end control is at channel 3. So the address that we are listening to is control. So this is a little bit confusing, as different mechanics on your MIDI device will give you different addresses. So for example, if I'm pressing these, there will be something else, and you just have to know what it is. So as I know that sliders listen to as sliders are sending the address control, this is what we are going to listen to if we want to have our sliders working. So this would be the next if statement. Let me put it here. If address is control. So this means if I'm pushing a slider, if I'm moving a slider around, it will send the address control, and we want open stage control to listen to that and do something if it is a control message. Yeah, it's confusing in the beginning, but hopefully not too bad. So then, because I have this prepared, I'm going to paste in some variables that I'm going to use. So first of all, this again about gathering information, mainly the value and the arguments that we need, and then I'm going to calculate some different values out of the incoming value. Since MIDI is sending something between 0 and 127, I want to, in different cases, map this with this little function we set up. I want to map this into a new range. Sometimes it should be the mapped val between minus 0.35. Maybe you remember why it is the inactive area in Vimix. So it's about opacity, you guessed right. So between minus 0.35 and 1.0. Other values, same thing, but slightly different in their ranges that I'm going to map them to. Okay. And then to be able to I have to check my parentheses here from time to time. So this is all good. Okay, so if we receive a message with the address control, then we want to do something. But it's not only about this message control, it's also about which fader is moved. Which fader did we move? So again, have a look at MidiSnoop. If I'm going to move the very first slider, so oh yeah, there's something I want to show you. My NanoKontrol has different scenes, so this basically means that every time I change a scene, the fader number changes accordingly. So for the first scene, this is what I'm going to set up. The first scene, you can see it here. The first slider has the value 2. So next one is 3, next one is 4, next one is 5, even next one is 6, and so on. But this is what I wanted to show you. Here you could see there was something missing, you would guess. No, it's just how my NanoKontrol works. So it's not always the case that the numbers are ongoing. I wrote all of them down here for the faders in the first scene. So first scene fader numbers are these, knob numbers are these, and what did I do here? Backwards. Okay, these are the numbers for all the push buttons I have here. So it's not too interesting for the moment. I'm just going for the sliders here, maybe for the knobs. Don't know how long this will take me. So I'm going for the faders, and we could do this with a lot of if statements, but since I like switch cases way better, we are going to implement a switch statement. So again, we have MIDI incoming from NanoKontrol with the message control, and we're having a look at the control value here that was sent, and we decide from case to case what is going to happen. And a case would look like this. Within a switch case it would be, so if case 2, so if fader with number 2 was moved and was sending something, we are going to do something with its value. Okay, let me just comment this out for a little moment. I know you cannot see the whole code here. I'm trying to get this all the way. Okay, so maybe if you followed along with the other parts, maybe this looks familiar. Yeah, it does. Somehow it is the same message that we told Open Stage Control for one of the faders in its on value function, and this is exactly what we are doing here. So if control is 2, then send this OC message. So with the address, Vimix address, we set it up like this. It's just a prefix so basically it means send to Vimix numbers or source number. Then we concatenate number 0, control the alpha with these arguments. So a float with a mapped val. Mapped val here is the value that was incoming mapped to a new range. And as we know, it's about alpha. We want the range of minus blah 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 blah. Told you. Okay, this would be the IP address of your system, and of course the port that Vimix is using. So in best case, if I was just saving that, so I'll try to keep this open. So it's running. I'm closing that. So I mean, yeah, we could have a look here. So moving something. Open stage control definitely is doing something, but not here. Don't worry. We are opening Vimix here. Session is loaded. A little bit chaotic. Doesn't matter. And I'm moving the slider, and as you can see, so this is the one that was moving. As you can see in the list here, it's the first one, the flames, and first one means in an array it has the number 0. Slider moved, first slider is talking to array number 0, and this is exactly what we are telling it to do here. So what do you know? We just made a slider control Vimix, a slider of a Midi device control Vimix with an extra mile of going through open stage control. This is exactly what I wanted to do. So I have to prepare a little thing and we'll be back in a second.